Hi everybody and welcome to another development stream for Will You Snail. I'm not gonna reveal my face right away today. I have a very special style today, but you're not seeing the full picture yet. I'll reveal that later. First of all, let me show you what I did today. First of all, I started to rework the text file system. Now the text files look like this. So they have a lot less text, or at the very least I plan that obviously this placeholder text, but the final text files will have a lot less text, and they will be interactive. That means you can select one of those menu options down here, and then depending on what you pick, the next text will change. So you can already see this will probably be quite a big improvement and make this story more engaging and interesting to interact with. Here we have the short interactive version, and here we have how it looked like before. Giant wall of text, non-interactive. So I think we can tell which of those versions will probably work out better. So that's the benefit of having a lot of playtesters. Not sure if I would have done that otherwise, but I'm already very happy with the direction this is taking. And then the other stuff I did today was a ton of performance optimization. If you can see here, I made a list with all of the performance optimizations I want to make, and then here are the ones I already made. And I think these here are definitely the more important ones. And you can already definitely see the impact that had. Let me show you. I'm just gonna close this. We don't need this anymore today. I just have two versions of the game here. One time I have the unoptimized version, and here I have the optimized version. And both of those versions have unlimited frame rate, so we can truly test how well those games run. Because I don't really trust the FPS counter, the implemented FPS counter that GameMaker has, so just running this at maximum speed and seeing how many frames per second we can get. Let's start with the unoptimized version. Obviously we have a lot of stats on the screen here. Delta time, in case you're wondering, is the time it takes for a single frame to render and compute. So it's the time distance between one frame and the other frame finishing to render. And in the unoptimized version, that's about 2.7 milliseconds, and that gives us a result of about 400 frames per second on this machine. Let's go to a later level, this one for example. So this looks very solid. That's why I was never really concerned about the performance, because I thought, okay, there's still a lot of room. I mean, even if you have a machine that's a lot worse, there's still a lot of room, right? Everything under 16 milliseconds is completely fine. We're running at 3 milliseconds at the moment, so that's why I didn't worry. But it seems like there are quite some difference with different graphics cards and different machines, so it seems to run quite a lot worse on other machines. Here we have the optimized version. And you can see it looks almost exactly the same, except that we already get 0.23 milliseconds on the main menu, so that's less than half of what we had before. And even in the levels right here, we sometimes even go below 1 millisecond to render this, which means the game runs at over 1000 frames per second, so more than double of the improvement. How did I do that? In my games, the GameMaker FPS counter only counts to 6. Yeah, you can't trust the GameMaker FPS counter. If you really want to measure the FPS, a slightly more accurate thing is use the debug overlay you can see at the top there. I think it shows pretty much the same as my FPS counter. But I even don't trust that FPS counter really. The only thing I trust is setting the game speed to 10,000 and then seeing how fast it can render, and you can measure that by using delta time. Because delta time gives you exactly this variable you see at the very top here, 1.17, and then from that you can calculate the frames per second. Yeah, I know what you meant, Jan. How did I improve the performance so much? Let me read this out, all of the things I did. First of all, I removed the for loops from the shaders. On my machine, this was not a massive improvement. It was a small improvement. But I think on some graphic cards just don't support for loops, so that could definitely resolve some issues on other machines. Don't update the color of all wall outlines every frame. Yeah. Basically, the yellow outlines had a little bit of a shimmer effect on them. Now those are not updated every single frame anymore, but only every 20 frames. Okay, this is just showing the true frame rate so I can do proper testing. Disable auto draw of game surface when post-processing is enabled. So basically, the game was just drawn 2 times on top of itself. That was not necessary, so I removed that. Disable application surface completely when post-processing is disabled. So this should hopefully improve the performance when post-processing is disabled. So for those where the game still didn't run properly when post-processing was disabled, this is an improvement for those kind of people. Don't know how to explain that. It's a game maker thing. It basically draws the entire game onto a surface, and then at the end it draws the surface onto the screen, but you can disable that so the entire game gets drawn directly onto the screen buffer. And usually that should be a little faster. Once again, didn't make a massive difference on this PC, but on some machines it could make a difference. Scale down the blur surface. Oh yeah, this was a massive change. I think this made the biggest impact for the post-processing. The post-processing so far had a blur that went over the entire screen, and I needed that for this bloom effect. So what I did is I reduced the resolution of the blur surface and just executed the blur effect on that smaller surface. And then after the blur calculation is complete, I scale it up again over the entire screen, which makes it a little blurry, but that's not a problem because it's a blur effect. So that just saves a lot of performance because I don't need to apply the blur to the entire screen. I just apply the blur to a downscaled version of the screen and then scale it up after the blur effect has been applied. Yes, what else? Disable auto draw of game surface when post-processing is enabled. Only have one background. Disable alpha writing. A couple of small improvements here and there. I still have a couple of ideas. Some of these will take a little longer. I don't know. But so far, quite happy with the performance improvements. Unfortunately, I still can't test whether they actually make a difference, because on this machine it runs pretty well regardless. But I hope we can do some testing sometime soon. I'll probably upload those test versions to itch.io or Dropbox or whatever, and then maybe we can run some tests on different machines. That would be great. Today we'll do something different though. Today we'll go into the planning phase of the game. And that means I want to create a basic outline for the level structure of the game. I think it's a pretty fun part of development. Probably that's why I saved it for the stream. Definitely more exciting than making these performance changes. I can do those without you. But level structure outline, definitely a more interesting thing that we can do right now. So let's get right into it. Need a version on the demo then. Is writing a shader in GameMaker difficult? No, not really. I think maybe it takes you a little bit to understand the basic concept of how a shader works. But really, most shaders are pretty simple. There's really not a lot to it. Okay, we'll create a new project. And I want one with a lot of space. Not exactly sure what you meant, Jolin, with need a new version. I mean, I'll definitely make those performance tests available somewhere. If that's what you meant. Okay, this is too high. No. I mean, okay, we can still make more space when we need more space, I guess. This should be plenty for now. So for now, our levels, let's just make this really, make this really simple. Let's just draw on this. Okay, so we start out in the main menu. This is the main menu. And then we go into the first dark level. Well, that's what we have at the moment. And from there we go into the next dark level. That brings us into the introduction screen. No, that's not a nice color. And now those re-levels, I think they should have a slightly different color as well. Here we go. This is level number 1. So this is what we have so far. I know, it's beautiful. Now if I create text again, is it the same size? No, of course not. Well, maybe I should just change it here then. Well, let's call that tutorial 1 and tutorial 2. Then we have AI introduction. And then we have our level 1. Yeah, we know how level 1 looks like, so no further explanations needed. Okay, now let's try to figure out where we want to go from here. In terms of pacing, I definitely want to establish a rhythm that looks something like that, with some relaxing parts in between, with a little bit of story in between. So from here on out, we'll just outline the entire game. Everything we still need. And I think that's just super useful to have, because then we can discuss this, we can get some feedback beforehand. And now is a good time to create this, because we already know how levels will look like. We have a good understanding of how the game plays. So this is a very good time to just outline the rest of the game. Most shaders are pretty simple. There's really not a lot to it. Yeah, I guess that's a little bit of a dangerous thing to say because it obviously depends on what you want to do. But like, if you wanna write a simple blur shader, simple post-processing shader that increases contrast or something like that, then there's not a lot to it. Of course, you can go absolutely crazy with shaders. There's all kinds of crazy stuff you can do with shaders. And then it gets into more complicated territory, but as long as you're, I don't know, simple color adjustments and stuff like that, it's not that difficult. Okay, it was my reply to Yen. You played the demo today to keep up the good work. Hey, thank you. Thanks for playing. I appreciate it. I read Game Coding Complete. Also, you're okay. I'm just really bad at reading. I thought you misread the title of the stream, but I just completely misread your message. Game Coding Complete book from Mike Mischaffy and David Graham, and I came to the conclusion I know nothing about game development, so complicated. Yeah, but it's getting easier and easier every single day. Game engines get better and better. Hi, can you make a pause menu where everything in your view gets a blur effect? I think I don't want to add the UI on top of everything else. I mean, yeah, in theory, you could make a pause menu where everything gets a blur effect, of course. That's possible. I don't think I want to have that in Will Use Nell, because we don't want to make performance even worse. We don't want another blur effect on top of all of this. Yeah, it's possible to do that, of course, yes. Okay. Sorry, where was I? I think I also want to keep the menu structure relatively simple. So this is the color we use for menu, right? And then for the menu, I just want to have, I don't want to have a main menu, I just want to have a pause menu. I think that's a nice way to only create the menu at one place and not in two places. That's always a little annoying if you have all of the settings in the main menu as well as in the pause menu. So let's just only make the pause menu. And you can get there by pressing escape. I think that's totally reasonable for a game like this. Yeah, come on, caps lock. And you can just access this from anywhere, and then this obviously splits off into a couple of sub-menus for graphics or whatever. But this will not be an overlay, it will just be its own screen that you can go to whenever you feel like it. So what do you think about that? Think that will work? I think it will work. Also, we're probably entering a little bit of spoiler territory, so if you're not up for that, close the stream right now. But yeah, probably not gonna spoil too much because this is pretty much all up in the air anyway. Haven't figured out too much about the story yet either, just the general direction and outline. And I want to have some sort of rooms where the handicap of the AI gets transferred to the unicorn. So you have to pay for all of that handicap. Question is, do we do that right after the level? I think in terms of giving feedback, that would probably make the most sense. So we have oopsie doops. Come on, just make this black. A handicap transfer level. And then after that, we once again enter a little bit of a more relaxing sequence. Maybe I shouldn't do this in in Photoshop. I think a simple table will probably be a lot more useful, but I kind of wanted to visualize it to make it a little more appealing to look at than just a simple table sheet. Yes, you are so right, oh Johnny. When I ask for performance issues, I should also ask for system specs. That's totally something I missed out on. That's kind of annoying that I missed that opportunity. Next time for sure. Yeah. Okay. So maybe you shouldn't go too much into details as of yet, but for the main rhythm, I definitely imagine something like 2 or 3 of these, no, let's say 2 of these darker levels into one of these normal levels, into one of those orange transfer levels where the handicap gets transferred to the unicorn and basically harms yourself instead of the AI. And that pattern will continue onwards, more or less, with some minor variations. The questions I want to answer is, how many of these levels do we need, for example? Which length for the game makes sense? How much playtime are we shooting for? That's some of the questions we should try to figure out now. And once we got all of that, we can start planning the production phase and try to see if we can figure out how long the entire development will still take. But I guess it will just take however long it's gonna take. We gotta finish this. Microtransactions. How exactly does the handicap transfer level work? I imagine it a little bit like this. So we have the AI handicap in the corner right here. That will obviously show up. And then I think I will have the unicorn handicap on the other side here. Oh, this is unicorn. Let's just put a horn here. Beautiful. And then, yeah, this stuff will fly over there and fill up this instead. Oh my god, this looks super ugly. Let's make this at the very least a little bit nicer. Yeah, so these percentages will fly over there and go to the unicorn account instead. And that will obviously have consequences later on, because when the unicorn has too much handicap, it probably isn't able to do certain things anymore, right? isn't able to help you as well anymore. How much would the game cost? I mean, if we add a price point, it will be something around $5. I don't think it would be more than that, but obviously I can't tell for sure right now. It's free, like he said. Then I think you shouldn't aim too high. What are those things the unicorn does, helping you to escape? I haven't figured out the details yet, but I think there will be some sort of a soft failure state when you complete the game, but the unicorn handicap is higher than 100%, you will get a different ending. So hope that will give people a reason to replay the game, add a little bit of additional challenge for those who want to replay the game. And maybe you get another ending if you manage to do it with 0% unicorn handicap, something like that. I think it will mainly affect the ending of the game. Maybe the boss battle, maybe it will have an impact on that. Will the end version be released on Steam? I hope so, yes. Okay. And then also in this handicap transfer level, I mean, it would be kind of stupid if everything would be happening just in the UI, so I'm thinking about an additional visualization for what's going on. Maybe we could have, I don't know, how would you visualize handicap in a simulated world like this? We could have a tank here and a tank over here or something like that, and then the liquid is transferred over as well. No, I just wanna visualize more or less what's going on, and then obviously we have the AI in the background that's just commenting as well on what's happening. So that's how I imagine this would go. What do you think is the playtime of a sequence like that? I mean, depends if we make those blue levels any bigger. I don't think they will be a lot bigger, maybe a little bigger. But let's say those blue levels will probably be 30 seconds. I don't know, something like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, whatever. Main level obviously depends on difficulty and skill, but let's say you play a normal difficulty, should be something like, at the beginning it's gonna be something like 3 minutes, at the end it's gonna be something like 10 minutes, so let's just say 5 minutes average. I think that sounds reasonable. So yeah, this entire sequence is something like 1, 6, let's just say 7 for the sake of it. Now, if we want to have 3 hours of game time, which would be nice, that's 180 divided by 7. Oh, holy shit, that means we would need 25 levels. Oh my god, that feels like a lot. Ha. Ha. If we do 2 hours, 2-hour game, 17 levels. I mean, that sounds more reasonable. Scoping how many play hours you should make for a €5 game is kind of hard. It's really hard because, especially on Steam, I feel like so many people judge games based on the playtime they got out of it. I mean, obviously, it doesn't need to be exactly $5. If it's just a 2-hour game, I probably wouldn't dare to ask for 5. I would probably go for 3 or 2. I mean, if it's 3 or 4 hours, that would be more in the direction of $5. But yeah, see, still, it's stupid that playtime is disconnected to the value of the game. In our brains, should be more connected to the quality. But I mean, let's be real. Even if it's about quality, then this game isn't the highest quality out there as well. 25 levels. 17 with replayability. 30 min. Oh my god. 30 seconds is what I meant. The transfer is going very slowly. It's a waiting game. Oh jeez. Yeah, you want to pay £1 an hour maximum when you buy a game. I think that's a good rule of thumb. I try to go for something like that for sure. The only problem is your playtime will highly depend on your skill and your difficulty in a game like this. It's very hard to predict how long it will take you. A skilled player might rush through it in 30 minutes, and a quote-unquote normal player might take 4 hours or 5 hours. In a very story-based game, or in a game with a lot of cutscenes or whatever, it's a lot easier to predict how long the playtime will be. But in a purely skill-based game with a very low amount of levels, the playtime can definitely vary a lot. So, Inko IMK2, do you include replayability in your calculation, or do you just include the first playthrough? Next soundtrack, elevator music, 10-hour version. Okay, I missed the context. Snail will move at actual snail speed. That would stretch the playtime. We could add some waiting times in between and microtransactions. And the snail is just creeping over the screen. 2 hours remaining. Come back in 2 hours. And then it turns into a mobile game. And you can upgrade your snail speed with gems, and you can buy gems for real currency, for real money. That sounds perfect. Yes, I definitely want it to be good for speedrunning. The only thing I'm concerned about is that speedrunners will hate the RNG in this game, because the spikes don't spawn at predictable places. So usually, from my experience, speedrunners are not a big fan of RNG. But yeah, that's an essential part of the game. Won't be able to fix that, but other than that, I'll definitely try to make it speedrun friendly, have some options to skip all of the cutscenes, and maybe have a little timer in game, stuff like that. Can also buy skins with real money. Sure, in a game like that, I'm sure people will definitely spend money on snail skins. Talking about skins, I think it's finally time to reveal my true identity or my personal skin for today. Look at that! I'm beautiful! Oh, yes! I enjoy this style. Just slightly annoying. Oh my god. Top hat and monocle snail, yeah. Monocle snail, oh yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, RNG is really not good for speedrunning. Yes, I know. Can't help it, that's the way it is. So pretty, thank you. Do you want to marry me? Please send me your proposals to jonasreadsyourproposals@gmail.com. This is scary. So sorry. Sure, let's do it. Okay. Perfect. Hey, come on, it's not that scary. It's not a horror game. How about tomorrow? Sorry, already got something to do tomorrow. Maybe the day after that. I mean, we still need to plan our marriage. We can't do it so quickly. No. Okay. I mean, the question is also, how long does it take me to make one of these levels? 3 hours would obviously be sick. Oh, that's not the right number. 180. So something, let's just say we need something between 17 and 25 levels. Let's just write that down somewhere. So what we're aiming for is 2 to 3 hours, plus a little bit of replayability for those who want to improve their scores, get a different ending, try it with a different difficulty setting. So that sounds about reasonable. Okay. So I think 17 definitely sounds like something we could do. 25 definitely sounds like it's a little bit on the higher end. Because what you need to keep in mind is that we need to create a lot of new mechanics for a lot of these levels. Because new stuff is usually what makes levels interesting and what makes levels stand out. If we reuse the same stuff we already have, we can make 100 levels. That's easy. I mean, you can design the level layout in pretty much 1 minute. But if it doesn't bring anything new to the table, then we should probably not even bother. Obviously, one clever way to make a level feel new is just to combine a couple of mechanics that before that were not combined together. And if the mechanics interact in an interesting way, that can definitely make for a new level as well. For example, we have the underwater mechanic. And then maybe earlier in the game, we have an underwater level with this kind of traps. And then later in the game, we can have another underwater level with another kind of traps. And we can definitely reuse mechanics like that. But not a lot. how many levels do I have at the moment? I have 1 level is completely finished. Then I have, let me think, 3 prototypes for more levels. And from what I can tell, creating these prototypes is relatively fast. I can create one of these in 1 day. And the question is just how long will it take to polish them out. And then what will also take a lot of time is creating unique voice lines for all of the levels for the AI. That will take a lot of time. So realistically speaking, if we pull all together, it's probably one week per level. Definitely. I think that sounds realistic. 1 week per level if we do YouTube at the same time. That's 25 weeks. I mean, and this already generous. There will still be fixes after that I need to make to all of these. And probably I want to do some interesting stuff where maybe at some points it splits, this tree splits up into 2 alternative paths where you can have a different level and then it goes back together. I think having some alternative levels like that would definitely add to the replayability and would definitely feel cool. Maybe some of the early levels will impact later levels, so all of that will make it a little more complicated. For example, the button, you remember that we have in the very first level, we have a button that you can press that orders packages. That will definitely change a level that's coming later on. 25 weeks seems okay though, yes. If that's a realistic estimation of the workload. I think we have to try this. We have to run an experiment with this. Can I create the voice lines, the sounds, the mechanics, and everything, absolutely everything we need for a level in just 1 week? Now that I think about it, sounds a little tight, but we'll run an experiment if it works. Obviously, the plan for now is just planning this all out and fixing all of the bugs. We still have an absolutely massive list of things we still need to do for the demo. Oh yeah, oh music, right? Music will definitely take some additional time as well, so that's not included in those 25 weeks. Yes. So, as you can see, we still have this, and this to do before we can even start thinking about making new levels. So, a lot of cleanup work after releasing the demo. And then, in case we ever get bored, we still have a nice backlog with ideas right here and some additional feedback from YouTube we can go through. For example, the AI still doesn't seem to look quite perfect yet. I think we need to rework the AI representation a little bit as well sometime soon. Yeah, and then obviously general polish time at the end is what eats the most time anyway, and you can already see this with the soft release right here, basically. The demo looks like it's completely finished, but to turn it into something that's really finished is like a lot more additional effort than you would think at the beginning. I mean, the demo is done, but it's not really. This is all of the tasks you see here on the screen is still stuff that's missing for the demo, basically. And that's exactly the way it will be for the final game as well. When all of the levels are done, when all of the content is done, when you think all of the voice lines are done and you send it out to playtesting, you will get another massive list of things that you still need to fix. So realistically speaking, it's probably more like 2 weeks per level if you include all of the maintenance time and bug fixing time and time you spend reworking stuff. Okay, so yeah, this is definitely helpful, thinking out loud a bit. I think I'm getting better at this streaming thing. Gets easier and easier to talk. Obviously, I'm still a beginner, so have some patience with me. The streams will will become better over time, I hope. For now, I'm quite happy with where this is going. Okay, so if we increase, I mean, how many levels are this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If we, let's just visualize this, how many levels this actually means. Because, yeah, what I forgot in my calculation was the levels in between. It's 1 week per level if we only had the main levels. But we also have those levels in between. Yes! Jesus, how could I forget about that? So that means every level is actually 4 levels. Okay, the one where the stuff here is transferred probably doesn't count, because that's always gonna be more or less the same. But it will still require voice lines. So okay, here we have 21. And this is, never do math on stream. This is 28. So we can remove 2 of them. Merge layers. And then we have 25 minus 17, that's, yeah, that's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, you can't see this line. So this is the part that we don't necessarily need to do, or maybe it makes more sense to surround the part that we definitely need to do. So we need at the very least this amount of levels. And if possible, this amount of levels. I mean, we can sit here all day and think about it, but okay, that's just the way it is. I don't think there's really a way around that. Okay, so the next thing we probably need to figure out is how we want to structure this, which kind of progression we want to have in there in terms of gameplay and story. F 50 weeks is like 1 year, yeah. 50 weeks is more than 1 year. Okay, so if we're looking at this realistically, this project will go on for another 1.5 years, which is pretty crazy. This is a lot more than I thought. It's always like that in game development. You think, okay, I'm gonna give this another 4 months and it's gonna be done. It's never like that, Jesus Christ. No vacation though. Yeah, I will take a couple of weeks of vacation as well, for sure. So, let's discuss politics and religion instead. That's also a bad idea. There are a couple of no-goes for streams. You bring the bananas. Okay. equal rights for snails. Snails are under preservance. Don't write complicated English words into the chat. I can't read them. Yeah, we need to protect the snails though. Totally agree. Yeah, save the animals. I'm all for that. 3 times 24 plus 24 minus 8 equals 88, I think. Hey, my lucky number, 8. Okay. You can do math. I just shouldn't do math. So I'm not gonna check whether your calculation is right. Okay. I think I'll have to think about the structure and all of this a little more, and we'll continue tomorrow where we left off. And then we'll just do that in a good old boring Excel sheet or Google Calc sheet or whatever. I think that's a lot more practical if we actually want to get into details than this weird Photoshop thing I'm doing here. But anyway, I'm surprised I was able to fill 50 minutes with my weird rambling. If you have any more questions or things you want to ask me, please let me know right now. For example, if you want to have a tutorial how to do this beautiful hairstyle, do you think I should make a YouTube tutorial on my channel? Maybe I should go into beauty tutorials. How about that? That's a lot less effort than making games. 13 points in the math exam. Congratulations. I was always pretty good at math as well. At school, that is. Because I think it's mostly because I was already making games back then. I think coding and making games definitely helps you to be good at math. It helps you to see the reason why you need all of this. It's really surprising how often you actually need mathematical formulas in game development. That everybody is like, oh my god, when do you ever need this? But in game development, you know, every now and then you actually need that kind of stuff. I think you will find a niche in the market with your beauty tips. Yeah, but I might find a niche with my game as well. Okay, I see what you're trying to tell me. It's definitely... I'll definitely find a niche in the beauty industry a lot easier. Oh no, even more YouTube bugs. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Nothing I can do about that. Except giving you my pity. Poor little good pixels. Okay, so thanks for watching, and yeah, we'll continue this tomorrow. Peace.